Folks, Street Fighter 6 is coming down the pipeline, and one question I get a lot is, hey JM, what Street Fighter characters are you hoping will make a return in Street Fighter 6? So we already have a pretty good idea who's going to be in the base roster of Street Fighter 6 because Capcom has showed us this image, which I think most people are pretty sure this is all the characters that's going to be in the game on release, but there's going to be DLC, there's going to be many seasons, I'm sure, over time. And so there are a lot of old characters that we haven't seen in a minute that I would like to see come back. So today we're going to be doing a top 10 list of the top 10 characters that me, personally, I would like to see come back in Street Fighter 6. So this is just my opinion. Don't yell at me if you disagree, but I'm going to try to hopefully get a mix of some fan favorites, some more well-known characters, along with some characters that haven't been in too many games that I think deserve another shot in the limelight. So what do you say we jump right into it? If you guys like the video, it would really help me out if you can hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already. And with that, let's hop right into the list, starting here at number 10. Alright, so first on the list here, I wanted to give it to Makoto. I feel like Makoto is a big fan favorite character. Most people love this character, even if she can be really frustrating to play against when she just like touches you once and you just die. But she's a really unique character design. You know, she has really slow plodding movement, but she can dash super fast and her jump is really hard to deal with. And something I think worth noting for Street Fighter 6 in particular is, you know, this is a game where you have access to 3 supers at once. Level 1, level 2, and level 3. And Makoto, all 3 of her supers in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike are very relevant, you know? Well, okay, 1 and 2 are both really good. 1 is a little easier to use. 2 is more damaging but requires harder execution. And then 3 is just super unique. She turns red. She can't block during this super, but she does massively increased damage. And it's not really something you see in fighting games that often, something this unique. So I think already the ground is paved for her to be added to 6, to have access to 3 supers like she does in Third Strike, and I think that would be really cool. Next up, another Street Fighter 3 character that I think really deserves to come back is going to be Dudley. This is another character that is such a fan favorite. Who didn't love watching this character blow people up in Third Strike and in the Street Fighter 4 series as well? He's so explosive, he's so stylish. I love how he can even throw a rose using his taunt, and that's like a useful taunt to use during the match, which is kind of rare in Street Fighter games. So Dudley, also known for very swaggy combos and high damage. He's got a super low jump, which makes him very aggressive, and a whole ton of target combos with his normals, along with one of the only characters in Street Fighter that generally gets like a really good combo off of overhead. So his high-low mix is insane too. So an aggressive character, a character who's just going to get in your face and make you guess and deal tons of damage if you guess wrong. A super fun character with a lot of swag. So I think most people would really like to see the return of Dudley. Next up at number 8, we've got a character who's beloved not for how powerful he is, but for how not powerful he is. And that's going to be Dan Hibiki. So, you know, Dan Hibiki, kind of the joke character of Street Fighter. But as the games have gone on, I feel like he's gotten more and more tools to work with in each game. You know, Street Fighter 5 is probably the most complete feeling Dan has been in terms of options. So I would love to see that trend continue in 6. You know, I think just because he's a joke doesn't mean that he has to be worthless. I think even if he is almost always low tier, he does add a lot to the game because it's someone that you can play when you're just goofing around with your friends. It's someone you can play to try to show off with if you want to be like, guess what, bro? I can beat you with Dan. Like, it feels good. So, yeah, Dan, everyone loves him. He's hilarious. Bring back Dan. We would love to see it in Street Fighter 6. Next up, we have a character with quite a bit of sort of tournament history, a character that people have loved to watch being played at the highest level, and that's Gen. So Gen is pretty famous for being a very difficult character to play. He's got 2 stances, a punch stance and a kick stance, that you're going to have to switch between constantly. You know, in the middle of moves, you're going to have to be switching stances to make combos happen and stuff. It changes all his normals, it changes his jump arc. It's so much to keep track of. But when you put in the work, or when you watch a top player who has put in the work and is really good with the character, it is like mind-expanding stuff. It is truly incredible to see this character played at a high level. And I think just like it's good to have characters like Dan, where, you know, you can mess around with them, you can have fun even if they're not super serious, I think it's good to have characters like Gen, where if you decide that you're just going to go ultra hard in Street Fighter 6 and you're just going to grind the game and you want to be the best there is, a character like Gen is really going to reward you for putting in the time because he has such a massive skill skill ceiling. So huge fan of, again, obviously players like Cian, Jibbo, and Yeb back in the Street Fighter 4 days really made this character look powerful. So I would like to see him come back just to see what people would be able to do with him in 6, because I know I'm not going to be good with this character in 6. It's too hard for me, but I want to see what other people can do with him. So bring back Gen. So famously, Cian won EVO in 2013 with Gen, but the next year, 2014, Luffy won EVO using Rose. So Rose is going to be the next character on the list. I would love to see Rose return. She originated in the Street Fighter Alpha games, just like Gen, and just like Gen, she also has a pretty unique playstyle. Yeah, she's kind of like a fireball character, but even more than that, she's like an anti-fireball character. She has the reflector. She can send fireballs back at the opponent, play a little bit of rose ball when you send the fireballs back and forth between two roses. She can also absorb fireballs with her reflector to give her meter, and that could be super interesting in a game like Street Fighter 6 where the drive meter is so important to everything. If you could somehow absorb drive meter, that would be really cool. Or absorb super meter. She's a character with very interesting supers, like I said, similar to Makoto. You know, stuff like soul satellites. It would be a really interesting super to give her, considering there are 3 different supers per character in 6. They have lots of opportunities, so I would like to see something like that return. She's definitely not a super standard character in terms of playstyle. You can kind of suit her to your needs, whether you want to play a poking game, a fireball game, a counter, wait for them to come to you type game, or mix them up with some of her shenanigans, like the soul satellites and her very tricky throw ticks. So I'm a huge fan of Rose, and I hope she comes back as well. All right, closing out the sort of trifecta of characters who made a big splash at EVO is going to be Sea Viper. So Sea Viper never won EVO, but she did get second in 2011 in the hands of Latif. And she's also a very unique character. A lot of people said she played more like a KOF character or maybe even a Marvel character than a traditional Street Fighter character. She has super jump cancels. She has crazy mix-ups and damage. Her juggles are out of control as well. She has feint where she can cancel a move into nothing, so she can do combos like Fierce Feint Fierce, super difficult to pull off, but super damaging. And she was really, really fun in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 as well, but we haven't seen her since, so I would love to see Sea Viper back similar to Gen. I think it's good to have characters that are sort of like a goal for players to reach for. You know, a character that's more difficult than normal may not be too appealing to the average player, but if you're the kind of person where you're like, I want to push to the next level, she offers a nice incentive and a nice goal to work towards, because she is really rewarding, but she is really, really hard as well. So we've seen a ton of good Sea Viper players over the years, and I would love to see what they would be able to pull off in Street Fighter 6 with the character. So bring her back. I feel like she's like a bit of a fan favorite. Do you guys feel like Sea Viper is pretty popular? I hear people talk about the character a lot, so I was a little surprised she didn't come back in 5. But hopefully we can see her in 6. I think it should be a lot of fun to do some more Seismo, feint pressure and stuff. Bring that back. I'm looking forward to it. All right, it's time for my full bias pick here. Next up, I'm going to say we need to see Ibuki back. It feels like such a no-brainer. She's been in basically every Street Fighter game since 3. So obviously, I think she seems pretty beloved, and she's beloved by me. This is my main character at this point in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. I don't really play Street Fighter 5 much anymore, but back when I did, I played Ibuki as well. She's a lot of fun. I've heard some people say that, like, oh, they can't put in Ibuki because Kimberly is already a ninja, but Kimberly is really much closer to, like, the Guy slash Zeku type, so I don't think we will see those guys return anytime soon, considering Kimberly is very, very similar to them, but she's quite different from Ibuki. And an interesting thing about Ibuki is that she plays differently in basically every game. So in Third Strike, she was a lot more of like a footsies character with a really abusable jump. And then in 4, she was like this bizarre, like knockdown Vortex Okizeme character. And then in 5, she has all these crazy setups and combos that she can do with her V-trigger, where she puts down the bomb, or the one where she throws out the boomerang that comes back. So her setups are absolutely insane in 5 as well. So I love to see what they would do with her in 6. How would she take advantage of the drive system? And how would they redefine a character that really has never played the same way twice? Like, even if we go back to Street Fighter 3 Second Impact, which was maybe the strongest Ibuki has ever been, she doesn't even play the same in that game as she does in Third Strike because of the way that they changed her supers. So a very interesting character, and I would be interested to see her make a return, even if this is a bit of a personal bias because she's one of my mains. I would still love to see it, guys. So yeah, Ibuki for Street Fighter 6. Let's see it. All right, let me be biased one more time. I'm going with another bias pick here. I'm going to go with Necro from Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. So Necro, I feel like people don't give this character enough credit. A lot of people go, isn't he just Dawson mixed with Blanca? Those characters are already in 6, right? Well, I mean, he has electricity like Blanca. And he has stretchy limbs and a drill like Dawson, but he doesn't really play like either of those characters. He plays in a very unique way that's almost a little bit closer to like Dudley or Makoto, where with his electric snake super, his goal is really to deal out big amounts of damage and to stun you. So of course there is no stun traditionally in Street Fighter 6, right? The only way to dizzy the opponent is to empty their drive gauge and make them burned out and then hit them with a drive impact. So I'm curious to see how they would adapt these type of characters who rely on stunning the opponent. Maybe they'll give him more attacks that drain drive gauge than the average character. I know usually Chip drains the drive gauge, and then stuff like drive impact and supers also drain the drive gauge. So if they could maybe give him an electric snake super in Street Fighter 6 that does a large amount of drive gauge damage, maybe it'll do less regular damage but a large amount of drive gauge damage, that would be a really cool mechanic, you know, that they could kind of build a character around who is less interested in damaging your life bar and more interested in damaging your drive gauge. Since that's such an important mechanic in 6, that could really swing matches in Necro's favor. So I'd love to see it happen. He's super tricky. He's way cooler than anybody gives him credit for. So I would love to see Necro come back. He hasn't been seen since Street Fighter 3. I think it's about time. Well, I told you guys that as the list got on, we were going to get a little more obscure and out of the box with the picks. And this is the one I feel like I'm going to maybe get the most pushback on. I think they should bring back Hakan, okay? This character did not get enough time to shine. By the time people figured out that Hakan is actually pretty good in Ultra Street Fighter 4, we were kind of moving past the game. Street Fighter 5 was basically like about to come out around the time that it was discovered just how nasty Hakan can be in the right hands. He was underestimated for a long time because he was really bad in his initial introduction in Super Street Fighter 4, but when they gave him a ton of buffs, they let him start the round with oil. If you guys don't know, that's his signature mechanic. He pours oil on himself, and it makes himself so strong and so hard to deal with. So he's a very unconventional grappler. You don't see anything like this out there, and you know, we've seen all the returning characters. They have sort of new visual redesigns, so I would love to see how they would visually redesign Hakan if they bring him back in Street Fighter 6. So Capcom, you might be looking at the one guy out there who wants Hakan to return, but I would love it. What do you guys think? Am I completely off my rocker, or do you guys want to see Hakan get another shot? I think he deserves it, man. Give my guy another shot in the limelight. It's time. Alright, even if I get roasted in the comments for the Hakan pick, I think here for our last character, you guys should probably agree with me. This character seems very popular. It's going to be Menat. So you can see there's a bit of bias, obviously, throughout my list. It's my own personal opinion, so of course it's going to be biased. And, you know, like I said, I'm not a huge SF5 player, so we had a lot of characters from Street Fighter 3 on the list, a lot of characters from Alpha and from 4, but only one original character from 5 who I am deeming worthy of inclusion here, and that is going to be Menat. I just think she's so unique and so cool. There's no one really like her in Street Fighter other than her, you know, where she puts the orb out on the screen, she can command it to return to her, do some crazy combos that way. She also has sort of Dawson-like normals because the orb extends out of her hand, so she has really long reach. But she also has some of the most insane combos in the entire game using her V trigger, which puts out all the little orbs and allows her to continue combos off of like any normal. So again, this is another character where I think having 3 supers available would make her very interesting. She could have access to that V-trigger style super, maybe make it like a level 3 super, and make it a really busted install to make up for the fact that it costs 3. I think that would be really cool, and stylistically, she's really cool as well. I think a lot of people just think she looks and feels cool to play. So yeah, overall, I'm a huge fan of Menat. I would love to see her come back, but I would also love to hear what do you guys have to say. I know that there are some big, notable characters that I left off the list, so if you guys feel that way, let me know in the comments if I'm way off base. And if you guys are Necro haters, or if you guys are Hakan haters, you can go ahead and leave the comment. You know, I might not leave a heart on it, but you can leave the comment, and I won't be upset. I just want to hear what you guys have to say. So that's gonna be it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. and I'll see you in the next one. Can't wait for Street Fighter 6, guys. Hope to be playing it soon with you guys.